Hello and welcome to the Broke But Not Broken podcast, aka BBNB. This is episode D, and I am your host, Destocot, aka Des. All right, so this episode is probably the fastest episode that was made after a previous one. It's been about 2 days, and this is the first time that I am recording at home because finally I actually have the place to myself, so I can actually maybe make a podcast that has little to no background noise. I can't control what's coming outside the window, but I also can't close the window because it's pretty hot outside. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about uh the podcast itself as a um like the physical aspects of the podcast. So what I mean by that is like I for my last podcast, I really want to seriously start doing them more often. I guess I am on track for that because here I am right now making the fourth episode very fast. And the thing is, one of the things I didn't like was my whole the the picture I was using for the podcast logo. But it was just a couple letters on like a plain blue backdrop. I decided to actually make it look artistic, so now it has like a nice little vinyl record, and I color corrected it, and added text, and it looks a lot more professional in my opinion. So, yeah, I added a new thing, and also I also upload these podcasts to not just Spotify but also YouTube. And on YouTube, I like to make it a little bit more. It's a little bit more effort where I put like a nice background showing the title of the episode and showing a little waveform that shows when I speak and like how loud I'm speaking at the time. And that's something I copied from a different podcast, and I really like that format, so I decided to go for that. But I also realized that for episodes A and B, I was kind of copying their style exactly the way it was, so I decided to make this one a lot more personalized. So going forward, the current format that you see for episode C on YouTube and the icon you see on Spotify that's been updated for all the episodes is what I'm probably going to stick with at least until I reach episode Z, which is like in the package of this trial, or I guess in the way season one of the podcast. All right, so I just woke up, even though it's only 11:45, so I probably shouldn't be waking up this late, but it's who I am. What can I do besides hate myself for it? Another thing that's new is I changed my distributor for the podcast. I started using Anchor, which I heard about from this podcast I listen to called Bad Friends, which is a really funny podcast. I highly recommend it. Much better than mine. Well, I mean, most podcasts are gonna be better than mine. The Bad Friends podcast featuring Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino. They're comedians. Uh, yeah, but their dynamic is good, and like they're just two edgy goofballs, just making me laugh all the time. Anyways, they're probably like the first two comedians I would actually want to see in person, but only together. I feel like I wouldn't like them on their own. So if they ever have a tour together, I would probably go to that. Oh yes, I'm using uh Anchor, the new podcast distributor. I didn't even realize, but Anchor's actually made by Spotify, so the distribution between Anchor and Spotify is just a lot more easier because it's already like embedded into it. So that was a lot more. That was another big reason for me to switch because it's just so much more easier for me to distribute the podcast now, um, especially directly to the platform that I only care about, which again is Spotify. Another cool thing about Anchor, I'm not even sponsored by them, but here I'm going to talk about them. Anchor is that you can add like Spotify songs inside of your podcast. So I can stick one in the beginning of my podcast or at the end or in the middle, as long as I have my audio cut up, which is actually really cool because I'm a big music fan and I wanted to include music in my podcast, but I can't because copyright. But through Anchor and only on Spotify, I could do that. So what I'm probably gonna do now is I'm gonna have like a song of the day, which basically is at the end of my podcast. I'm gonna say, "All right, it's the end. now I'm going to play the song of the day, introduce the song, and then the song will just play. And you can just listen to it if you want, or you can just like stop the podcast, right? Because it's going to switch to the song like automatically. It's not part of the podcast, but it's more like it transitions to the song. Which if I put the song at the end, it will transition to the song, and then that's it. But for example, if I put the song in the middle of my podcast, it'll change the song, and on Spotify, it'll show you just listening to the song. And then when the song ends, it'll go back to the podcast, right? Kind of like an ad break. Like on Spotify, the look or the display will show that they're like separated, but it's all one seamless thing. It's probably just because they want to. It's their way of allowing songs without having to like hurt copyright, right? Uh, Last time I talked about two movies, Suicide Squad and The Green Knight, and I still 2 thumbs up for those movies. Would recommend to watch. I might be going to see a movie again this Saturday. Potentially, it really depends. Because right now, I'm not interested in anything that's being played in theaters, except for Don't Breathe 2, which I believe is it classified as horror movie? Let me see here. Now that I'm on my computer, I can do stuff like this. It is classified as a horror thriller. Okay, cool. Yeah, Don't Breathe 2. It actually looks pretty interesting. The problem is I never saw Don't Breathe 1. So I don't know if they're direct sequels, but I heard Don't Breathe 1 was good, you know what I mean? So if the previous iteration of a movie was good, I feel like you need to give it justice by watching that before watching the second one, even though they might not be directly connected. However, I did watch Deadpool 2 without watching Deadpool 1, and I had a good time. So, take that as it is, I guess. My hypocrisy. Well, no, my hypocrisy is just a conflict with my morale, my code of honor, I guess you can put it in terms of being lightly. I don't know what I just said right there, but I'm trying a lot of new things here all at once, and that's mainly I'm trying to record at home, and I'm actually not even aware of how long I've been recording because I'm using a bot through Discord to record this podcast, which I am now kind of regretting because I don't know how long I am recording. So I'm gonna gamble by the time I stop this podcast. I mean, worst case scenario, I think I'll at least hit. I think I can eyeball it properly. What else is going on? I wanted to talk about 2 albums. I want to talk about Logic's new album, Bobby Tarantino 3. Or I guess he calls them mixtapes, I'm not sure. The Bobby Tarantino albums. So Logic, he is a rapper, and he said he retired, I think last year or 2 years ago, from his quote unquote last album on No Pressure, which was actually a pretty solid album. The problem with Logic, I am a fan of Logic, but the problem with him, and I think a lot of people agree, is that he is very inconsistent. He'll have good songs and terrible songs on the same album, and because towards the end of his career, again in quotes, because he retired, but now he's back. He kept making albums very fast, back to back, and like again, the inconsistency showed. Like half the album would be really good, and the other half would be complete. Like I guess personal taste trash, right? And it sucks because like it kind of made it seem like he was not putting full effort, or he got lazy. Some people like to wave it away as in he was just having fun, but I feel like if you're having fun, you really got to present it like that. You can't just have it mixed with your really good songs on the same album. Anyways, Bobby Tarantino 3, leading up to this album, uh, which is I guess his comeback out of retirement, which I don't mind. I mean, I'll still check his songs out every now and then. I'm not as invested to him as an artist, but I still think he makes some pretty fun songs, and his older songs are still on my playlist. Um, yeah, Bobby Tarantino 3. Leading up to this album, he showed 4 singles, and all 4 of these songs are probably probably the 4 weakest songs on the album. So it really makes you think like why would these songs be the single, and also would make you think that this album is gonna be complete trash. But surprisingly, after you get through those 4 singles, the back half of the album is actually pretty good. It's like what I expect or what I like about Logic. It's like they're really good songs actually, and they all made it to my playlist. But yeah, because of those singles, because they're played back to back on the album and on the first half of the album, a lot of people speculate that this album is just because he had a contract to fulfill with his record label, so he couldn't really retire. He had to make this album, but he had these really great songs at the second half of this album. So he still has a lot of potential. I just wish the consistency was more there. Yeah. So I would give the album a good, maybe a 6 out of 10. I mean, because like the first half really brings it down. But yeah, I think I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Would definitely recommend listening to the back half of the album if you're a Logic fan or a rap fan. Um, Another album I want to talk to, also in the rap world, but kind of on the other side of the world, back in Korea, is one of my favorite Korean hip hop artists, BY. He created a new album, which I've been noticing has been nicely spaced out, 2 years between each of his albums, called 032 Funk. And it's a little bit different from his previous albums. And to be honest, most of the tracks I do not like, or I guess I do not really care for on the album. Uh, and then the ones I do care about, I don't care about them that much. There's only 6 tracks on the album, so it's a pretty short. It's more of an EP, actually, I would say. Uh, yeah, but the title track, "Celebration," is actually really good. It's a nice like rap funk mix, and it's still like stuck in my head to this day. So because the EP is short, like I would still give the album a pass because it's unique and the title track really kind of carries the whole thing. And then a few of the other songs are actually, yeah, I think there's more good songs than not so good songs, but they're all unique songs. And the thing I want to give a lot of credit to is that um, a lot of artists do this, but you might not look into it if you don't care enough. A lot of artists like um, they might not write their own songs, and but they might not write their own songs, and they might not direct their own music videos, which is okay. I mean, like you don't need to, right? But BY, he's one guy. He writes his own lyrics. He directs his own music videos. Like if you look in the credits, it's all his name. And I think that's pretty cool. Like he makes his own like beats and stuff, and I think like it really shows like his like skill level in making his own music. And like I think that credit to that should always be given. Um, you know, like he even directed his own music video, which is like something that you like not really expected of the artist to do. Uh, like I know a lot of times like for Korean pop music in general, the groups, the boy groups and the girl groups, they don't really write their own music, which I guess is like it's fine, like, but I think it's worth also nitpicking on, especially when the song's not good, because when the song's not good, you can say people like the people who are really like big fans of things, they can say like, "Oh, but they didn't write the song." So they kinda, wave it off. Or like, but if the song's good, like, "Oh, they made a really good song." But like they didn't even write the song, you know? It's kinda like it's pretty like a very sheepish mentality, which I'm not a fan of. I think music should be always criticized no matter how much you like a band. I can pretty much do that with 21 Pilots' newest album, but I don't think I'm gonna do that today. So yeah, BY 032 Funk, new EP, song title single, Celebration, would recommend, and it's probably gonna be the song I play at the end of this podcast. So feel free to listen to that. All right, what else can I talk about? Uh, percent Percent Arabica. What is percent Arabica? Percent Arabica or Arabica coffee coffee is a coffee shop that's based in Kyoto, Japan, and they actually opened up a New York location in Dumbo, Brooklyn. And I decided to spend my Sunday. Just uh having a little bit of a coffee cafe day for myself. And I've always wanted to go there, and I finally went, and the coffee was pretty damn good. I'm probably gonna go there again. It's probably gonna be my coffee spot if I ever want to just go for a little writing adventure or something of that sort. It also got a little one of their pastries. It's like basically a croissant, but it was like covered in like a nice powder sugar. It was very good too. Uh, and they have stamp cards, and I'm a sucker for stamp cards. And just so you know what a stamp card is, some places, usually drink places, if you buy a drink, they'll give you a card with like 10 spots, and they'll stamp one for every time you get a drink. And once you fill up all 10, you get a free drink. And I'm a big sucker for those, and now I feel like I have to fill up that stamp card. I actually still have one that's filled out from before the pandemic started. And I'm gonna hold on to that card until I can cash that in. But that's kind of for a place that I don't see myself going near like anytime soon. But I'm gonna cash that card in. That's for sure. All right. I honestly think that was about 20 minutes. I actually feel like I made a little bit too much. How do I say? Pauses. But I'm gonna listen back and cut that all out if I can. Uh, what else can I talk about? Next time I kind of want to talk about what I'm thinking about now, which is I'm thinking about potentially moving out for a year. Because my concern is that when the fall semester starts in about a month, I'm gonna have to go to a college maybe 3 days a week. That's very far from my house, or I guess more like 2 hours away by train. And it's not about the 2 hours really. That's the concern. It's about the fact that I have to arrive there by 8 a.m., which means I have to leave my house at 6 a.m. And honestly, like I don't mind, but I think it's gonna be really tough. So if I can just get a place kind of just like nearby, I feel like that'd be a better like quality of life change, right? So I'm really thinking about moving. I think I'm gonna I think I'm gonna really step and confirm that decision within 2 weeks. Although it's cutting it close, but I'm not concerned about if I'll be able to find a place versus if I want to find a place first. Yeah, I've talked to a couple other people, get some advice from my friends before I finalize a decision on that. But it's kind of exciting because every time I think about moving out, I get excited, but then like a week later, like you know what, it's not worth it. I'm just gonna stay home. So I don't want. I like to live by this mantra: high hopes, low expectations. Right, with everything. If a show's coming out and you're really excited for it, just have high hopes but have low expectations. Right, you can't really be let down. Anyways, I think I'm gonna conclude it right here. Thank you for listening to the Broke But Not Broken BBNB podcast. The song I will be playing on this outro will be Celebration by BY, and it should be starting right about now.